You see what the Timberwolves were wearing on Saturday against the Raptors? The neon. That looked kind of like. Wait a second. Are they playing the Oregon Ducks here?
Yeah, Oregon.
I wasn't sure for a second. I don't. You know what? In the Timberwolves original jerseys, the greenish, bluish, kind of Seahawkish blue green. I don't like that either. I'm not a big fan.
Well, we're going to attempt to phone Clark Judge here and hope improve on the disaster that was last week.
Yeah, we haven't really talked much football yet, have we?
No, we have. Well, we've sort of covered it. Praying that this works, please.
Clark Judge.
Oh, look at how good this is. Can you hear me? Is everything fine?
Yeah, everything's fine.
All
You
right.
using tin cans,
Good
you
morning.
paid the electric bills, everything's going great.
Yeah. Clark, thanks so much for joining us live on rawmike.richards.com. And we were just sort of going through the shenanigans of the weekend, and it's just amazing to me that regardless of how the Patriots get there, because they truly are remarkable as a franchise, there are still people who are on the Patriots bandwagon, and I get it when it's a team of dominance, when your team doesn't win, and Tom Terrific, who has literally every attribute in the world I can think of, Clark, that a human being would want to have. He seemingly has it, and he's going back to yet another Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's funny, Mike. I think, be serious for a second. I mean, I do think some of this stems from, believe it or not, jealousy. I think people look at Tom Brady and go, he's got everything. He's making $1 gazillion. He keeps going to the Super Bowl every other year, and that's probably bad when it's every other year. He's going for the third time in 4 years now, and that's the second time it's happened. He's got more Super Bowl victories than anybody. He plays on the most successful team of the last 2 decades. He's got a model wife. He's got beautiful kids. He's got everything.
Yeah.
It just seems he's got everything, And I think I talked about this to a former player once. He said he thought there was something to it, that fans just go, I'm tired of him. I want something new. I talked to I was talking to my wife earlier today, and she goes, I know how much you like watching him play and how much you like watching the Patriots. She goes, I'm just tired of seeing him. And I think that speaks for most of the country outside the 617 area code. They just want to see somebody different, somebody else, somebody new. Blake Bortles, bring him on. Let's somebody different, because the narrative is the same every year. And how are we going to change this? Because all we're just saying is he's great, he's greater, he's the greatest. What more can you say? And I think, as I said, a lot of people out there they're jealous. They wish they had somebody like that to root for. They don't. This guy's got everything. Good looks, everything. Great wife, great looking wife, making a ton of money.
Yep.
She's out earning him. Everything's there. So, you start trying to knock him and chip away at it. And as I said, I think if you just sit back and appreciate what we're looking at here, 5 years from now, we're going to be going, God, remember what it was when Tom Brady was lapping through. We'll never see another player like that. But while it's happening, there are a lot of people out there who are saying, I don't like it. I want something different.
Well, and Clark, just moments ago, as Dave and I were talking about, I said that the other thing is when you try to make comparisons to other sports, so, because people love to do that all the time. And there used to be a time where I used to talk about the San Antonio Spurs being sort of the Patriots of the NBA. Well, here's the thing. They don't win anymore, and the Patriots still are. There's no equivalent. Whether it was the Canadians in the 70s or the Oilers in the 80s, yet this team in the modern era, like yesterday, are still doing it time after time. I don't think there's an equivalent to me in professional sports, even if you want to go over to leagues and the Premiership or La Liga or the Bundesliga. I can't think of anything, even Tiger Woods. I cannot think of an equivalent for the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to go back generations. And the thing is, of the modern era, and certainly of the salary cap era, there's nothing quite like it. I mean, I go back to the Boston Celtics of the 60s and 50s. I rooted for them. I think they won 11 championships in 13 years. They had Bill Russell. If you have Bill Russell, you're going to have trouble beating that team. And they won even, I think it was the 69 season, when they had an inferior team because Bill Russell just willed them to it. They beat better teams. That's the same thing that goes on with New England. This is not a great Patriots team. In fact, I might argue this is the worst of the Super Bowl teams that they've had, but they find a way because they've been there so many times, and they've got a quarterback who knows the game, play when it matters most, and he excels then. And you saw that the fourth quarter yesterday. You saw it in the second half, the Super Bowl last year, winning the Super Bowl the 2 years before against Seattle. You saw it then, Seattle celebrating on the sidelines when they're up by 10 points. I remember leaning over to the guy next to me. I said, they've forgotten playing Tom Brady. You don't celebrate when you're playing Tom Brady in the fourth quarter. This is where he's at his best. Of course, the Patriots won that game. Now, they certainly got a boost from the play calling from Seattle and Russell Wilson pass, but nevertheless, he and they find ways to win again and again. That's what good teams and great teams do. They find ways to win. And I know it's a cliche. Bad teams find ways to lose. That's a cliche. But it's true. And you saw it yesterday. I mean, Jacksonville threw everything at them. It's the best game I've seen Jacksonville play ever. Yeah. I think it's the best game I've ever seen play. And yet it wasn't enough because number 12's on the other side. No Gronk. No Edelman. He's got a cut hand. Doesn't make any difference. 40 years old doesn't make a difference. He finds a way to make things happen and to win. And I just think, as I said, I love watching it as somebody who studied the game for a long time. I marvel at guys who excel under adversity. I'm not one of those. I certainly played sports. I know what it's like when game's on the line. But I also know what it's like to say, I want the ball, or give it to me, I'm going to do it. I've seen those people. Michael Jordan was one of those guys. Mm-hmm. Bill Russell was one of those guys. Bobby Orr certainly was one of those players. You had numbers of Montreal Canadiens I'm not going through, but obviously they weren't playing this year because they could put the biscuit in the basket. But the fact of the matter is you have guys who want to step up there and go, give me a chance. Larry Bird said, just give me the ball. Everyone else get out of the way. I love watching that. And that's what I love about Brady. Give him the ball with a minute to go. And to me, I think of Unitas. I remember years ago, Dan Henning, who was the head coach and an offensive coordinator and a great offensive coordinator, he found a table of us. There were about 7 or 8 writers who were sitting at the Super Bowl in New Orleans. And I'm going to guess it's probably that 2001 season, so the Patriots versus the Rams. He found us at a restaurant there, and I saw him, called him over, and Dan said, let me ask you guys, you have 2 minutes to go. When minute to go, didn't make it, it's a minute and a half. Who do you want to have the ball with 2 minutes to go? What quarterback? I said Unitas. Someone said Namath. No one said Stabler. No one said Unitas. Someone said Montana. We went around the table and we finished. And said, oh, he goes, okay, thanks. And I said, wait a minute. Dan, you didn't tell me. Who would you take? You're an offensive coordinator. You've been with good and great teams. Who would you take? He goes, there's only one guy. There's only one guy. That's John Unitas. Give him the ball. He's going to go down the field. That's the way I would feel about Montana when he got the ball. That's certainly the way I feel about Brady. If you give Brady a minute with a minute on the clock, and Elway was the same way. With a minute left, he's going to find a way to score. One way or the other, he's going to find a way to score.
Yeah, certainly. Clark, great talking to you. We're talking to Clark Judge from the Talk of Fame Network here on rawmikerichards.com. Also streaming live on YouTube this morning. Blake Bortles, for my money, at the start of the season, there was a lot of people saying, okay, well, they're going to find their replacement in the offseason. With what Blake Bortles has done, especially during the stretch drive of these last 2 playoff games, has he earned the right that the Jacksonville Jaguars management group will not be searching for a quarterback this offseason?
Yeah, I think he has because, A, he's young, and B, he's demonstrated he can take them close to the top and really maybe to the top. I thought he played well enough yesterday to win that game. The problem was he played against Tom Brady. But I've been one of those guys that's knocked him all years. I mean, I see him. He's up 1 week. He's down the next. He's up. He's down. He's up. And you can't win with a guy like that, except he actually had better performances this year, more good performances than not. Now, at the end of the year, he slipped a little bit. He had 5 interceptions in a couple games. That, to me, is Blake Bortles. I mean, you see those mistakes. You go, gosh almighty, we should get rid of him. Get him out of his game. I realize they happen. They happen to all quarterbacks. Ben Roethlisberger threw 5 interceptions one game. But they don't happen frequently. And they happened too frequently for him in the past for me to place any sort of allegiance in him. Except now, you look at him in the playoffs, didn't turn the ball over. He played well enough to get to a Super Bowl. They've got a really good defense. I think that team is a force to be reckoned with. They played well in the playoffs. And, I would. I think it's a $19 million option. Absolutely, I'd pick it up because where else are you going to find a guy who can do what he just did for you? And I realize it was the defense that drove that team. But again, in that game yesterday, and let's go the week before against Pittsburgh, in the second half, he played well. First half, not so well. But in the second half, played well. But nevertheless, he didn't make the mistakes that he's made in the past that have cost him. And yesterday, actually, he made plays that could have and maybe should have boosted them to the Super Bowl.
Clark, it's interesting, in talking about the quarterback position, which I think is the toughest position to play in all of sport, bar none. I mean, I think I've coached a lot of sports. I've played a lot of sports, sometimes at pretty high levels, and I just think what these guys do. People don't realize just how ridiculously difficult that there's so many things that go on that you have to do in just literally microseconds. You have no time, and the guys who make it look easy really are quite that good. So therefore, when I look at Case Keenum, and I've talked favorably about him all year long, I think what he has done has been magnificent. They, as Dave said, you ride the wave of a guy that probably wasn't supposed to be there, but it also can be a little thankless because I think when that game was going on, a lot of people are going, well, at least we got Teddy. And boom, that's kind of it. Is that the thinking or the feeling right now that for Case Keenum as the starting quarterback for Minnesota, that show is over?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that. I give him a lot more latitude than that. He was 12-4 as a starter. He got into the conference championship game. Again, it wasn't he. It was that defense. But he played well enough, and I thought they had a chemistry that really worked. He didn't make the mistakes, for instance, that Bortles would. He had only had 7 interceptions. But he didn't make some of the big plays Bortles would either. But I thought he got a little bit of an unfair rap yesterday. He didn't lose that game for them. The defense did. I mean, gosh, that was like an open-air defense. And they were going up and down the field on them. And he wasn't protected by schemes that you thought Pat Shurmur would have come up with. I mean, to me, Pat Shurmur got badly outcoached by Jim Schwartz. He wasn't ready for some of the blitzes that the Eagles are throwing at him. And that sack fumble, I think it was near the end of the first half, that turned the whole game around. They're going in for a score. It's certainly going to be a field goal, maybe a touchdown. And gets hit from behind, fumbles the ball. And that turned the whole game around. They couldn't make a stop on defense. They looked like they were completely unprepared. I don't know what the deal was. And now you're playing from behind, and it's pretty easy then to start making plays on defense. And I'm not saying easy to keep them off the board, but certainly to take chances. You can take chances there where you might not earlier, and that's what they did. And they started getting after him, and he's flush from the pocket, and he's checking down, and it's a very difficult situation. And then it becomes apparent he doesn't have a chance. I mean, they were so far behind. So I look at this as, if Bridgewater is okay, if you're convinced he's okay, and he's the quarterback he was before he got hurt, he's the guy. He's the guy you want, because you felt strong enough that you invested a high draft pick in him and success with him. But if he's not, and he hasn't played, guys, I mean, he hasn't really had an incredible game since August 2016, or hasn't really done anything until August 2016. And I realize, he got into a game this year, but it doesn't make a difference. I would like to know, what are my chances of him getting through a season? Because with Sam Bradford, I do know. I don't have a chance of him getting through a season without getting hurt. It's just not going to happen. So what are you going to do here? I would immediately cast Bradford aside, to be honest with you. I would not re-sign him. Bridgewater, if you told me that I think he's okay and I was convinced he's okay, there's your ticket. If not, you got one healthy guy there, and that's Case Keenum, who just took you to the conference championship game.
Yeah. And it should be interesting to see what the Vikings will do in the offseason. So you mentioned the defense. Mike and I talked about it before we made contact with you earlier this morning. Open-air defense, game planning against Nick Foles. What the hell happened with the defense? This defense was arguably the best defense overall the entire season. Pro Bowlers at the linebacker position, at the corner position, and they were just eaten up big time. I mean, Zach Ertz. Well, Zach Ertz is one of the best tight ends in the game, but this guy was catching everything, and Alshon Jeffrey lit him up as well. It was really disappointing to see that performance that the Vikings put on the field in their biggest game of the year.
Yeah, for one, I think, remember they lost in Deo, that the safety he bowed out, I think, after the first period or something. I thought that was significant, because remember what happened in the New Orleans game.
Yep.
And bowed out. I think it was a concussion, but anyway, all of a sudden the Saints were a different team. And then Xavier Rhodes sat down. I mean, he sat down because there were some issues with him, and while he was out, they went up and down the field, and suddenly what was a 14-7 game quickly became 24-7. It was gone.
Yep.
It was 14-7 with the strip sack, and that, to me, as I said, turned the whole game around, because all of a sudden they're finding guys wide open. I mean, Zach Ertz wide open down the sidelines. Alshon Jeffrey wide open. I mean, these guys they didn't have anyone within 15 or 20 yards of them. And then that series at the end of the first half, where they got the ball with whatever it was, 50 seconds to go, whatever it was, and I thought, yeah, they're just going to sit on it. Whoa. They go down and kick field goal. I mean, it was amazing. They just kept putting points up on these guys, and Minnesota didn't have an answer. I don't know what the deal was, guys. And they looked like they were stuck in mud. They looked slower. Mm-hmm. They certainly play on a fast track indoors. That's one reason, be honest with you, indoor teams don't have success when they go outside for these conference championship games. They're playing an elite competitor. They're playing for one game, and that's the Super Bowl. And they don't win. They're 0-13. They don't win. And You can say, well, it happens. Well, it keeps happening over and over again, so there must be a reason. And I remember when Indianapolis had those good teams with Peyton Manning, when they go outside, they just weren't built for grass. They were built for fast track indoors. Dwight Freeney, when they drafted him, they said he'll be fast on our turf, and he was. He was a great pass rusher. But there is a difference, and I don't know how to explain it other than that was, I think, a factor. They just seemed completely unprepared, and that's what struck me. They were hitting slants all day, tight end, open all day. Don't you think you should cover Zach Ertz if you're playing the Eagles? I mean, isn't that a good idea? And this team had success covering tight ends. For whatever reason, it just like there was a mind block yesterday. I mean, everything they'd done up to that point went out the window. But you looked at those last 6 quarters, guys. I'm talking about the last 2 quarters of the New Orleans game. The 4 quarters yesterday, completely different performance and defense. They gave up a zillion points. I don't know what it was, 62 points, something like that in 6 quarters. Whereas in the previous, I think it was 14, they gave up 15 points. So, it was just an utter collapse.
Well, we had also a very heated discussion this morning, Clark, about where people get their fried chicken from and what they like on their pizza.
Now, big time, yeah.
And I will tell you that you had a test with us beforehand about Christmas movies with Die Hard, where you said it wasn't a Christmas movie. Tremendous heat on you on that one, just so you know.
Really? Of Die Hard?
So, yes, tremendous heat saying it's not a Christmas movie. So if we're looking at the pizza selection now of Clark Judge, the Talk of Fame, a pizza, what are you having on the pizza?
Pepperoni. Oh, okay, pepperoni. Love pepperoni. That's what we have. Actually, we have it every Friday here. My daughter, my wife, and I, we have pepperoni pizza every Friday. And we live near New Haven, Connecticut, which has the 2 best pizza places in the world.
Really?
That's Frank Pepe's and Modern. New Haven's renowned for its pizza places. They're phenomenal. If you guys ever get down here, I'm taking you there. You'll love it. Lines are out the door on Pepe's and Modern.
What kind of crust? What kind of crust are they doing?
Thin crust, very thin crust.
I like thin crust.
Yeah, and it's oven cooked. It's so good. God, it's listen. They said America's best pizza, and you go, yeah, sure. And I said to my wife, okay, be prepared to be disappointed. When we finished, I said, I got to tell you, I've never ever had a better pizza. It's the best. And we lived in New York City for years. It's the best I've ever had. So if you're ever within 100 miles of New Haven, Connecticut, go. Pepe's and Modern Pizza.
We're going to come down there just so you. Dave will come down just because you're going to pay for the pizza. I'm telling you right now. Dave will do this.
I tell you what, talking about it, I might go there this afternoon. It's great. This place is great.
Awesome. Hey, Clark, thanks so much for joining us here this morning. Always a pleasure, and I'm sure we'll talk to you again. Will you talk to you next week? Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, we'll figure something out. I'll text with him as we always do, and Clark's so gracious with his time. And Clark, without a doubt, one of our best guests. We always get some great comments about.
I love being on here with you guys. And I saw, by the way, you were plugging. Is a Japanese hockey phenom? Is that true? That's coming up?
Yes, that's what's coming up. You don't want to miss that one.
Give me his name and number, and I'll send it to Montreal.
Okay. How did I know he was going to say that?
His name is Aito Gucci. That's his name.
How do you say that in French?
I think
Gucci.
They'll say, "Hey, here come the Japanese guy."
That'll work.
Oh, I think it will. Hey, thanks. All right, take care. Clark Judge from the Talk of Fame always does a great job.
What? We just become best friends? Yep.